Children who learn to adapt become adults who can thrive almost anywhere. We needed to move out of our comfort zone and find a place that would challenge us or that would provide more opportunities for us as a young family. So we made that move, believing, praying, hoping that it was best for our family. And 4 years in, our children are thriving. We have so much activities outside the house. We are living a life that we would have never imagined if we didn't move out of our comfort zone. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Alex IRL, or Alex in Real Life. This is where we talk about parenting, motherhood, life, and everything in between. So today, I want to talk about some of the unconventional things that I've done as a parent. As you know, I'm a mom of 3, and I'm raising 3 different generations. So I have a Gen Z. She's turning 19. And then I have a 9-year-old, she's Gen B. And then I have Gen Alpha, who just turned 1-year-old. And how I'm raising all of them and some of the unconventional things that I've done as a young mom, raising 3 different generations. So 5 parenting decisions people questioned but helped my kids and our relationships in general. So as parents, people will question almost every decision. Alam mo yun, yung pag may nakausap ka, they're trying to teach you how to parent your child, or sometimes people will parent you. And this is common and almost normal. Not that it's a bad thing, but sometimes you will hear words like, you're too strict, you're too lenient, you're too involved, or maybe not involved enough. And while we appreciate that most advice come from a good place, totoo naman yun, it's coming from a place of love, some of the parenting decisions that had the biggest impact on my kids were the ones that didn't come from pieces of advice or didn't come from parenting books, so to speak. So some of them were questioned, and understandably so. But looking back, I do them all over again. So here are those 5 things that I believe are quite questionable, borderline, unconventional things that I've done as a young mom, raising 3 different generations. Number 1, I was intentional about what they watched. So when we say binabantayan natin yung pinapanood ng anak natin, normally in this generation or in this age, maririnig natin, so you don't let them watch Peppa Pig or Cocomelon or mga certain shows. No, I actually let them watch whatever they want to watch as babies or as toddlers. And those shows are fine, no problem. So I give them access to whatever they want to watch na pangbata, age appropriate. But with all that it's being seen on social media, on the internet today, streaming platforms, exposed sila sa iba't ibang cultures and perspectives like Western movies, K-dramas, right? Japanese show, anime, from all over the world. And honestly, wala namang masama doon. That's okay. Ako rin naman, lumaki ako sa age ng Ghost Fighter, tsaka ni Miyaka and Tamahome, and that's okay. But there was this one time na naalala ko, pandemic to. My eldest daughter, she was around 13 that time, 12, 13. Tinitingnan ko siya and she seemed very distant. So ito yung era niya na nanonood siya lagi ng anime. Masyado siyang babad din sa mga Western movies, yung mga sitcom, different forms of content, yung mga K-drama or mga reality shows outside the country. And again, hindi naman siya bad thing, pero naisip ko, where does context come in? Parang ang tanong ko sa sarili ko that time, does she still understand where she is right now? So she's not going to school. She doesn't meet her friends. Paano niya naiintindihan how life is here? And nakikita ko na medyo withdrawn siya. Does she even understand na yung napapanood niya sa Western movies, yung nakikita niya sa anime, yung napapanood niya sa mga reality show, doesn't always apply where we're at, and we're in the Philippines. So physically, geographically, culturally, nakaka-relate ba siya? Or nagkakaroon ba siya ng pressure na parang, bakit hindi ganito yung life ko? Bakit hindi ganito yung suot ko? Bakit hindi ganito yung school ko? Bakit hindi ganito yung food namin? Kasi pagbabad sila masyado sa isang bagay, they tend to compare compare their life or to conform to what they're already watching. So what happened is, napaisip ako, as a millennial mom, raised by Filipino parents, what brought me joy when I was a kid is, pinapapanood ako ng mga Tagalog movies ng parents ko. You know, it's very possible to become so connected to the rest of the world nowadays that you slowly become disconnected from your own world. And that's when I decided to do a little experiment with my kids. Kung alam niyo yung girl, boy, bakla, tomboy ni Vice Ganda, it's something that they don't really watch. So alam ko na maraming ganyan sa generation na to. Pero one time, I played that, yung girl, boy, bakla, tomboy. Tapos, natawa siya. And then after that, pinapanood ko siya ng Daniel Padilla tsaka Catherine Bernardo movies. After that, I saw a big change sa kanya. Tapos, before she would lock her room, manonood ng anime, magka-computer, she would talk to her friends. Pero slowly, napansin kong malaking change is she was opening her door already, calling us. She was watching Tagalog movies. Natuto siya mag-Tagalog ng maayos ang diretso. She was developing this sense of humor that was quite familiar to our environment because we're in the Philippines. So I know that a lot of people said that time na, bakit mo pinapapanood ng ganyan yung 12-year-old mo, yung 13-year-old mo, bakit mo sila sinasubject sa ganyan? And right now, yung 10-year-old ko, 9-year-old siya ngayon, she's turning 10, sinisimulan ko siyang papanoorin nung she's dating a gangster. Not for anything, hindi para kiligin, but just so they would understand the context where they are located. And hindi nila masyadong nako-compare yung life nila sa mga anime characters, sa Western movies. Kasi I feel like, if that's what they see all the time, magkakaroon sila ng konting withdrawal from their own life. Tapos makakompare nila na, why am I not like that? As opposed to, you know, seeing what it looks like here in our country through movies. So that's just one. I let them watch Tagalog, classic comedy, Judy Ann Santos, Vice Ganda, Daniel Padilla movies. And that really helped a lot. And I'm going to pass that down to my baby when the right time comes. Number 2, I let them have real conversations with me. And when I say real conversations, of course, I wait for the right age. Now, as my kids got older, I didn't want every conversation to feel like a lecture or feel like I'm untouchable bilang nanay nila ako. I wanted it to feel like a conversation that meant they could ask questions sa akin. They could also challenge ideas. They are allowed to disagree with me. They can sometimes say na, Mommy, I don't think that's right. And I don't get mad. Sometimes that meant we'd argue a little, you know, for argument's sake. So not to train them to be disrespectful, but because they were learning how to think for themselves. So I would listen. They would also listen. Sometimes, pag tama naman yung sinasabi nila, I would change my mind. Sometimes they would change theirs. We'd agree, we'd disagree, or just agree to disagree. So, nasanay kasi tayo minsan na pag mas matanda yung kausap mo, especially if it's your parent, feeling natin we can no longer correct them or we don't have the right to speak our minds. And I wanted to change that. So my kids are allowed to challenge my ideas any time of the day. If I agree with them, okay, sige, we can talk it out. But of course, yung parenting authority ko is still there. But hindi ako konde sa bahay. I can always be questioned and they can always talk to me about anything and everything. And to be honest, sometimes I also stand corrected. And I tell them, okay, anak, I stand corrected. Okay, anak, I didn't see it from your point of view. Okay, anak, hindi ko nakita yan coming from this perspective. I never wanted my children to grow up believing that the goal of every conversation is simply to win. The goal is to understand each other because one day they'll have conversations with their bosses, their friends, their teachers, their spouses, their colleagues, and the people who see the world differently than they do. So learning how to respectfully disagree is such an underrated life skill. And that's the point of, me allowing them to disagree respectfully with me. Number 3, we uprooted them from comfort. Most parents, especially when their child is comfortable, they try to protect that comfort level. And of course, I understand why. We all want our children to feel secure, right? But there were seasons when our family made big changes out of necessity. There were a lot of times that my children witnessed us starting over, especially yung panganay ko. We entered unfamiliar environments together. We met new people, built new routines. To be honest, it wasn't comfortable for them at first. But one of the greatest gifts that we can also give our children is the gift of adaptability. Life changes. Plans change, opportunities arise, and opportunities change. Children who learn to adapt become adults who can thrive almost anywhere. We had this big move back in 2022 when we moved from Baguio, which is a very comfortable place for us. Dahil both my husband and I are born and raised in Baguio. But at that season of our life, we felt like we needed to move out of our comfort zone and find a place that would challenge us or that would provide more opportunities for us as a young family. So we made that move, believing, praying, hoping that it was best for our family. And 4 years in, our children are thriving. We have so much activities outside the house. We are living a life that we would have never imagined if we didn't move out of our comfort zone. So yes, initially, my children questioned that move. But right now, everybody's thriving, everybody's loving that move, and I saw a lot of growth sa mga anak ko. So pulling them out of their comfort zone, especially now that they're still guided, protected, and secured, is something that meant so much for the growth of our family. Number 4, we talked about real family issues. Not every detail and always in an age-appropriate way. But to be honest, we didn't hide every challenge from our children. If my husband and I were going through something, minsan if we're at the thick of it, we don't say it because we were emotional or we're still trying to navigate that challenge. But once we find a solution to it, or if there's no solution, we hold a family meeting and we really talk about it. Kahit ang baby namin, si Lily, she was 7 years old, Alexa, medyo bata-bata pa nun, we would discuss as a family and explain to them, anak, so this is happening, things need to change, or anak, this happened here, and this needs to happen. Yung mga ganong bagay, we're very open to discussing them with them. We talked about family goals also, important decisions and priorities. Changes we were considering were also brought up to them, sometimes even financial realities. Hindi naman yung sa parang, we need to do something about it, not in that sense, but in a way that, okay, this is the situation, this is where we're at, me and daddy, and this is what we're doing about it, and just so you are aware. Not because we wanted them to carry adult burdens, definitely not, but because we wanted them to understand how a family works. And I wanted them to see that families aren't just groups of people living in the same household. Families, us, we are teams. We are a team. And when people feel like they're part of a team, they tend to become more responsible, more thoughtful, and more invested in one another. When things are happening within the family, hindi kami nagtatago mag-asawa sa kwarto at nagdi-discuss ng patago sa mga bata tapos lalabas kaming with a smile on our face. They understand us better because we discuss. Maybe not in full detail, but they know, for example, Alexa, Daddy and I are talking about this. This is happening, but you don't need to know the full detail, but just so you know, we are having an adult conversation about this. They become more involved, not merely spectators of our own lives. They are part of the unit. Number 5, I let them see me as a person and not just as mom. I think that when we become moms, we feel like dapat nanay lang tayo. But that is something that I 100% disagree on. You don't have to be just a mom, and your kids should see you as a human being. This might be quite unconventional, My children know I have goals. My children know I have dreams. I have work. I have interests. My kids know that I have opinions. I make mistakes and I fail, even in front of them. They've seen me succeed. They've seen me struggle. They've seen me make a lot of mistakes. And they've seen me figure things out because I never wanted them to think that adulthood was about sacrificing your entire identity. And I also wanted them to see me being mommy. I wanted them to see me as a person. And I also never wanted them to believe that becoming a parent means your growth and your life stops. When I had my first kid, I was very young, I'm not gonna mention my age, but I was in college. There were times that walang magbabantay sa kanya, I would bring her with me to school and she was already walking around our classroom. She saw me graduate. She saw me took up law. She saw me cry over work. She saw me resign. She saw me get removed from work. She saw us build a business. She saw the business fail. She saw us try again. Then she saw it fail again. You know, she's seen everything. And I wanted them to see that you can be human in front of your family, in front of your kids. And I want them to realize that you can also love your family so deeply while still pursuing your own goals. Failure is also okay. You can be committed to your children without losing yourself in the process. One thing also that my husband and I make sure of is that when we're in front of our kids, we show them that we continuously learn, we're able to change, adapt, we're able to build and still become. Kasi there is this notion that when you reach a certain age, especially if you already have a family, na yung word na established should be you're unshakable and that you're already set on your own ways. I always tell them, I am not married to this personality. I am not married to this whole idea. The only thing or the only ideas or principles that I'm married to is that I'm a wife and I'm your mom. Other than that, everything else is changeable. I think a lot of parents also feel the pressure to be everything for everyone and nothing to themselves. So, yung mga ganyang bagay, I am not afraid to show my kids yung vulnerabilities of being a parent and being a human being. We make sure that we teach our children is how a healthy, fulfilled adult actually looks like. Healthy, happy, and thriving because we're not meant to just survive. Not a perfect mom, not perfect parents, just growing people alongside them. Because one day, my children will become adults too. Parang ako, nakita ko din yung mga magulang ko dati and I would watch them thinking na parang they were untouchable. Yun yung thinking ko dati sa magulang ko, parang they're untouchable, they know what to do, they cannot fail. So, nung naging adult na ako and I am seeing the realities of life, I was kind of taken aback by the idea that, okay, my parents could get hurt. My parents could get vulnerable din pala. My parents could make mistakes. And adult na ako nung nakita ko yun, I was shattered. Kasi I didn't see that growing up. I thought they were perfect because what we saw when we were kids were perfect parents. Like, they always had a smile on their face or they would always put up a strong front. But in reality, you know, they were struggling. So I don't necessarily want my children to feel na, oh, nahihirapan si mommy or she's struggling with this or something's going on. But I want them to be aware of the realities of life early on. And I hope that they remember that life doesn't stop also when responsibilities begin. They can still dream. They can still grow, they can still become who they want to be, and maybe that's one of the most important lessons I've tried to teach them. Now, am I saying that every parent should do these things, that they should let their children watch girl, boy, bakla, tomboy? Or should they let their children argue with them or challenge their thoughts? Should they let their children know about their struggles? Am I saying that it fits other parents or households? Of course not. Every child and every family is different, but these were some of the parenting decisions people questioned, and they helped me shape who our family became years in. So, our family is not a baby. We've been here for almost 20 years already. So I can say that whatever I'm doing works. My daughter, my eldest daughter, is thriving. She's doing really good. And seeing her become a responsible or the responsible adult, new adult that she is right now, gives me so much joy because she didn't come from a conventional family. She came from a young mama who's just half her age. So I'm very proud to say that although it wasn't a perfect scenario or it wasn't always a perfect setting for us, especially for my eldest child, since she's seen us struggle so much with, a lot of business ideas that we built and failed at the same time. She's doing really well. So the older I get, the more I realize that parenting isn't about following a perfect formula. Sabi nga, there is no blueprint to parenting. And it's about just knowing your children are paying attention, they are looking at you, they are adjusting as they grow, and having the confidence to do what works for your family, even when it doesn't look like what everyone else is doing, especially if even if it doesn't look like what you see on social media. Sometimes the best parenting decisions are the ones that never make it into the books, or the best parenting decisions are the ones that don't make it online. That's it. Those are just five of the things that I want to share with you about how I parented my children. And I know that our youngest is a baby. Am I going to follow all of these five things step by step? No, things may change. As I said, I am very open to changing. But I hope that this helped you. If you feel like social media is teaching you one thing into parenting your child, especially about what they consume online, for example, they have their cell phones all the time. They can watch whatever they want to watch. They have YouTube, they have TikTok, they have everything. Parang you are co-parenting with all of these apps and you're co-parenting with the internet. It's not a bad idea. And I always tell my friends this. It's not a bad idea to let them watch something close to home. Nung panahon kasi namin, we had a lot of shows that is in Tagalog within the context of where we're at. Tapos every recess time namin pinapanood sa amin yun. But now with all the noise and with all the information that they get bombarded on a daily basis, even before lunchtime, it is not a bad idea to share something that they would understand. That is one of the biggest change that I have made dun sa anak ko. Because right now, tayong mga magulang, we are so engrossed dun sa idea na, uy, nag-i-English yung anak ko. And that's good. Parang there's this fantasy na hindi nanonood ng Tagalog yung anak ko. They only watch Western movies, they only watch anime. And I understand that for some time, I was also that parent. But when I saw that my child wasn't already relating to real life or yung life namin dito, I tried that experiment. And I see that it's working. So right now, my 9-year-old, sinisimulan ko nanonood yan ng She's Dating a Gangster. Medyo nakikita ko yung kilig factor niya nung same na smiles that I was having at that age. Not that I'm teaching her to be anything else. Pero, they just have to understand. Kasi pag nanood naman yan ng anime, ganun din, kinikilig din naman yan dun sa mga anime na pinapanood nila. Why not show them something that is not out of touch, so to speak. So there, I just want to share some of the parenting tips. If you like it, or if you have other unconventional parenting tips that you want to share, please feel free to share that on the comment section. And I'll be very happy to read that and talk about it on the next episode. And again, I'm Alex, and this is Alex IRL, or Alex in Real Life. Bye!